Hi, this is Grady Batista with Triple Z Resale. Today we are going to be doing a What's Sold on eBay video. And this is a special all vintage clothing edition. So if you are into funky vintage clothing from the 90s, 80s, 70s, 60s, I even have something all the way back to the 40s in this edition. So it's going to be all vintage clothing, and I think it will be really fun. This is items that have sold over the past 3 months in my clothing store on eBay, Fashion Meets Function. So let's go ahead and get started with something that I just sold this morning. This is a pair of Beetle boots, zip-up leather boots. They are probably, if I had to guess, I'd say they're from the 80s. They're not a super famous brand, though. They're Paul Chardo is the maker of these shoes. So that doesn't really make them valuable. It's mostly just that they're vintage and they have this very cool style, this very like mod or sort of cool cowboy style. There's the logo. So if you see a pair of these out there, and you can pick them up for a couple dollars, you can definitely make some money. I accepted a best offer of $18 and I sold these boots in less than 2 weeks. So that's good turnaround for me. I can't have my cowboy boots sitting around in my store forever. This is a fun one. I really enjoyed selling this. This is a vintage Brooklyn Dodgers like woven hat. I could not figure out if this was handmade or if this was professionally made, and it's a vintage item either way. But my point is that it's either made by someone who's really good with a sewing machine and it's homemade, or was made by like a clothing company. There's no tags in it, but it's just really well put together. Like the material and the brim, really held its shape well. The sewing lines are like super clean. It was in beautiful condition. I actually bought this from a resale store called the Resale Ranch here in Tucson, and I pop in there once in a while, and the owner's very nice. And so I bought this for $7 and I resold it for $50 at auction. So I sold it in 1 week on auction with one bid. And here's what I did, and here's how I knew to charge a good price for this, is that I did some research on this logo, on this Dodgers logo, because I had a feeling it was the Brooklyn Dodgers and not the Los Angeles Dodgers. And if it's the Brooklyn Dodgers, that means it's quite old. And so I actually found a website that was, I think, called sportslogos.com, where you can literally just look up any team and see their logos. And so this specific logo was from between 1938 and 1944. So I believe that the patch itself is that old. I think the patch itself came from that time period, although I'm not convinced the hat is from that time period. I'm thinking the hat is from like the 60s or 70s or 80s. So anyways, someone bought this. I sent it out to New Jersey. So, it's someone sort of in the New York area. So I thought that was really cool. And it was a really neat hat. And I enjoyed selling it quickly in 1 week. All right, this is a vintage Sears fashion t-shirt, or not t-shirt, sorry, button front shirt. So at the time, back in the 70s, this wouldn't have been anything high-end or super special. This was a very common shirt. But, 30 years later, it's a desirable vintage item. In part because it has the Sears logo. And I don't know, for those of you who track companies, Sears is probably on its way out. They're kind of a dinosaur. So, I think that once Sears has disappeared, it will probably become more collectible. And also, it's got the harvest gold color. So if you want to look at an iconic color of the 1970s, harvest gold would be that color. So for that reason, I knew this shirt would sell, and it did for $14.95. All right, this was a groovy shirt. This is a vintage 1970s. I'm calling it 1970s. I don't really know when it's from, but it certainly looks like it's from the 70s. It's polyester. It's got this trippy, crystal geometric design on it. It's got the sort of disco style lapels and sleeves. And this sold really quickly, I think, after I listed it. This sold within a couple weeks. And I guess I got $21 for it. I don't remember if I took a best offer, but it just was a super funky shirt. I mean, look at that. That's cool. That's neat. If I was even more eccentric than I am, I would totally rock this shirt if I was like a super eccentric dude. But it's a little too much for my taste, so better if I just sell it to someone who will wear it. I'm curious to know if they're going to use it as a costume or if this is going to be like an everyday shirt that they wear. This was a vintage like tourist t-shirt from the 1980s from the St. Thomas Virgin Islands. And it's got this kind of like late 80s, early 90s style graphic on it, with the lightning bolts and the pink and purple and stuff. And I just thought it was a neat shirt. And it took a good while to sell. This probably took like almost a year to sell. But it did. I think I took a best offer of $15 on this. All right, here's another shirt, very similar to the last one. It actually came out of the same collection of shirts. I bought a collection of about 50 vintage shirts on eBay, which I have resold them on eBay, and they've actually sold surprisingly well. So here's the funny story about this shirt. It says American Host Corporation, Bayport, which I'm not even sure who this company was. But I know that there are collectors of old corporate t-shirts, and sure enough, someone bought this and then they sent me a very nice message thanking me for selling them this shirt. And they also said they can't wait to get it into their collection of pharmaceutical corporate products. And apparently they are a collector of pharmaceutical company swag, basically. And they were really excited to get this shirt, and they said, please keep an eye out for any other pharmaceutical logo items, including umbrellas and ashtrays, and like they gave me a whole list of the type of things they were looking for. And so if I happen to come across something like that, I would be happy to send this buyer a message through eBay and say, hey, check this out, I have something you might like. And it sold for, let's see, almost $17 with free shipping. This is a cool one. This is going to be the oldest sale in the collection here. This is a vintage 1940s and 1950s sweater from the company is Grew. I don't know if that's the right way to pronounce it. Grew, Los Angeles. And it's like a cardigan style sweater. It's got a really beautiful sort of sea foam, like aqua color. So the color that you're seeing in the pictures is pretty accurate. And here's the tag. So you can see the logo looks quite old. And if you're trying to date vintage clothing, the tag. The tag is a really great way to date vintage clothing if you're not sure how old it is. So I could tell as soon as I saw this tag that it was old. In part because like there's not certain information on it. Like as time goes by, there's more and more information on the tag. Now there's like barcodes and RN style numbers and all kinds of stuff. So if you see a tag that's really basic, you can guess that it's kind of old. The other thing that indicated that this was a genuinely vintage item is that it has this hand embroidered name on it that looks like it's Canmer or Canner or I don't know, something similar to that. So this was probably the owner of this sweater embroidered their name into it, like how today you maybe would use a Sharpie to write your name or your kid's name on the tag of clothing. And this was just a really cool vintage item. I really enjoyed selling it. I wanted to get a good price for it, and I think $25 was a good price. So I'm happy with that, and I hope whoever got it, whatever hip person is wearing this sweater, really likes it. Next up is another vintage t-shirt from that same collection as the other two vintage t-shirts. This was a 1980s sort of tropical themed shirt. It has this really awesome graphic on it of like a wave and some hibiscus flowers and the palm tree. Come on, work for me. There we go. And the sunset. So I just thought the shirt was really cool. And then to make it even weirder and more of a hipster shirt, on the back it says Jungle Party Jiffy. So I just thought that some cool kid will buy this shirt. There's the tag. Some cool kid will buy this shirt and like wear it around New York City or something like that. And sure enough, I think I sent this to either San Francisco or Brooklyn. And And it just was a neat shirt, and I'm really glad that someone bought it and that it gets to have a second life out there in the world. All right, here is a scarf, again with that harvest gold color and this sort of awesome like maroon color. So there's nothing super fancy about this scarf. It's just a vintage scarf, and it sold for I think I took a best offer of $12 on this scarf. And this was an item that I got out of like a huge lot of clothing I bought a year ago, and it just cost me almost nothing. So again, this was a good sale. On to the next one. Yes, I loved selling this. I thought this would sell even faster. Unfortunately, as you probably know, Kate Spade committed suicide. This designer committed suicide in the last couple of months, maybe 2-3 months ago, which is very tragic because she seemed like a very awesome person, and she had founded a really excellent company, and she had teenagers. Don't do that to your teenagers. Anyways, enough about Kate Spade. What I do know is that there was a huge bump of Kate Spade's sales on eBay after her passing. A bunch of people wanted to buy Kate Spade stuff, and so I thought that this brooch of mine might sell, and it did. It's quite large, so you can see by the measurements there that it's about 3¼ inches across. So this is not like a subtle brooch. This is a like, hey, look at me kind of jewelry item, and you can see the tag there, or not the tag, but the stamp that says Kate Spade, New York. It's not the best photo, but this was a really hard tag to get a good photo of. And so this woman messaged me. So here's the story on this. This woman messaged me, and she said, I would like to buy this, but I can't pay you until Friday. Is that okay? And then she said, I'm feeling very nostalgic, and I used to work for Kate Spade's company years ago, and I would really, really love to buy this brooch. So I said, yes, of course, please, I'll sell it to you. Pay me on Friday, which was like almost a week away. So I appreciated this buyer for asking first before buying it, because a lot of times what people do is they buy the item, don't pay for it, and then they send you a message saying, oh, by the way, can I please pay you on Friday? Usually it's Friday if people are asking because, payday. And so I appreciated her asking first. And so I held it for a week. How that works, in case you're wondering, is that she purchased it on eBay so that no one else can buy it, but then she didn't pay. So basically, like theoretically, I could have made a deal about it or started a unpaid item case or something, but why would I do that? I have good rapport with this person, and I believe she's going to pay me. And she did. Friday morning, she made payment. I got it in the mail, and I think she's probably really happy to get this. This is a unique item, and I think there's only one other one that I saw for sale on eBay. So I really enjoyed selling it. I bought it at a Goodwill auction for $11 and sold it for $67. All right, next up is a vintage handmade sweater. This is totally not my style. This thing was kind of ugly in my humble opinion, but it has very nice ribbing, so the texture and the way it was crocheted is really well done, and it has these like puffy arms and this neat collar and these like wood beads on it. So this was the kind of thing that someone was going to really like. I think I had to sell it twice. The first time I sold it, they said it was too scratchy and they returned it, and then it sold again in a week. I think I took a best offer of like $8 because I just wanted this thing out of here. It had been for sale for a long time. I had a bunch of followers. This is like, or watchers, not followers. It had a lot of watchers. This is one of those items where like I could tell that people were interested in it, but it also wasn't going to really make me rich. So like, I'm glad it's gone. It took up a lot of room. It was kind of a big sweater, but it's neat. And if you like that sort of thing, then, I can understand. All right, here is a vintage Stussy t-shirt. I pulled this out of the bins at the Goodwill outlet. No holes, no damage, no stains. Super cool shirt. I did not look it up at the time. I was just like, old Stussy shirt, I'm going to buy it. It probably cost me $1. And it's a neat shirt. I really enjoyed selling it. It sold within a month for $25. And once I did research on this, I saw that this shirt is usually worth about $30. It had a pretty consistent sales price. There had been, I don't know, probably at least 10 of these that had sold in the last 3 months on eBay. And it had a pretty consistent price of being between $20 and $30. So I think I was trying to get 30. I had it on sale for 15% off and got 25 for it. So neat item, and I remember buying Stussy clothes at the mall when I was like 12 years old. All right, here is a vintage hat, vintage women's hat that was made in San Francisco by the Summer Tompkins Company. This really did not photograph well. I did a poor job of photographing this. If I was listing this hat now, I guarantee you it would look better, but this listing was probably from a year or more ago. And the reason I'm unhappy with the photos is there's just no definition of the hat. Like it's like this black circle on the screen, and I don't know what I'm looking at. There's the logo, so there's the Summer Tompkins logo. Yeah, you just can't really tell what the shape of the hat is, so I'm really glad it sold. I would have eventually rephotographed it using a head model, like a mannequin head, which I have a couple of those now. So if I was going to redo it, that's how I would do it, so that you could really see the shape of this hat. But either way, it's a cool vintage hat, and it sold for 21 bucks. All right, this is a vintage 1990s Tommy Jeans t-shirt. So, you know, if you're a reseller, you probably know that like Tommy Hilfiger doesn't get the best price now. There's so much of it for sale on eBay that it's just not going to capture a really good value. But if you find vintage Tommy, you should definitely consider raising the price on it, and make sure you do your research, because there are some Tommy Hilfiger or Tommy Jeans items that are vintage, like 90s, that are really, really valuable. I mean, this one wasn't. It's only worth about 20 bucks, which is really great. I was happy to get 20, but I've definitely have done research and seen Tommy Hilfiger vintage items that are selling for more than $100. So this is just a basic t-shirt. The thing I thought that was cool about it, I don't know if it'll show up in this or not, but do you see the word Tommy there? How it's like embroidered, or not embroidered, it's like, I don't know, recessed, like there's like sort of a texture there. And so that was a unique touch to this. And that's all I have to say about that. All right, we're going to close this video out with a cool 1980s rare vintage item. So this is Jimmy Z's brand. I don't know if you remember seeing this logo back in the day, Jimmy's. I think I might have owned a pair of Jimmy's back in the 80s or 90s. But this pair was quite old. It had some damage to it. So it had some stains right in the crotch area, and it had some stains like down on the edge. And so I did my research, and it just seemed like this wasn't worth a whole lot of money. So I put it up for $9 plus shipping. So I did not offer free shipping on this. I sold it almost immediately, like that same day I sold it. And then there was a problem with that person's address. I wasn't able to ship it to the address they gave me. I canceled the sale, refunded them their money, and then relisted it. I sent them a message and said, hey, if you want to correct your address problem, I'm happy to sell you these. But it sold like the next day again to someone else. So I kind of feel like $9.95 was too little for these, even though it had damage. That was the main reason I listed it so low, was that I just thought it was in kind of poor condition. But maybe I should have charged like $30 for these. I don't know. But either way, to have something sell within a day that I paid, 50 cents for, basically, is really great. And I'm happy with that. So I hope you have enjoyed seeing what vintage clothing has sold in Fashion Meets Function. It was a lot of fun selling these clothes, and I have a bunch more vintage items for sale. And I have new things coming up to be listed every week. So thanks for watching my What Sold video. If you think this is good, please subscribe to my channel, hit the like button, leave a comment. Let's be friends. See you on the next video. Bye.